All right. So I've been going through Luke in my daily readings, and I'm in Luke chapter 20 right now. And there's a verse in there that I'm sure many of you have heard people talk about and probably had some pretty poor teachings concerning, and that's about the resurrection. What happens is that the Sadducees are asking Jesus about the resurrection. They don't believe in the resurrection. And so they tell this story of this girl who marries somebody. He dies before they can have kids. So the brother marries her, and the same thing happens 7 times. And they say, well, whose wife is she in the resurrection? Jesus responds to them, and he says, children of this age marry and are given in marriage, but those who are counted worthy to take part in the age and the resurrection from the dead neither marry nor are given in marriage, for they no longer die because they are like angels and are children of God, since they are children of the resurrection. So I've heard some wild teachings on this, and I'm not going to add anything to the text or say that you should believe something that's outside the text at all. I'm just going to clear up what Jesus is exactly saying here. He's not saying that we're going to be like the angels in the sense that um, our bodies are going to be the same as angels. I've heard people say that, like in the resurrection, where there's a reason why there's not going to be marriage is because we're going to be like the angels, and they make an assumption that the angels are uh, genderless or a bunch of other attributes about the angels which we don't really know. But the truth is, that's not what he's saying. He's saying that marriage is for this age. So marrying and giving into marriage, so that's for this age. This whole idea of marriage is a covenant between two people to provide, to protect, to care for, and to love one another exclusively, no matter what. And so it's a covenant of assurance that's made before God, each other, and everyone who's witnessing. And it's supposed to be kept and not broken for a lifetime. And the reason is because the world is a crazy place full of sin, danger, and disease, and we need each other to care for each other and to help each other out. So there's this exclusivity that happens within it because of the nature of the world that we live in. But that same nature doesn't exist in the restoration of all things for the kingdom to come. In that age, we're promised that there won't be disease or sickness. It says, we're going to not die. And so our relationships are going to be dramatically different. But as far as what we will look like, remember in Genesis, man was made in God's image, both male and female. That's how God intended it from the very beginning. And when we talk about a restoration of the kingdom, we're talking about a sort of Edenic restoration. And I think it's going to be a much more developed. So we talk about there's going to be nations and kingdom. There's going to be the New Jerusalem. So there's going to be cities, but or at least a city. But as far as the nature, our restored nature, we're going back to sort of a restoration of what we were supposed to be, but different in some way. Because the Apostle Paul says that it's not really anything we can imagine. Just like how a seed goes into the earth and it grows into something else, a plant of some kind, that's how our earthly bodies are. So we really can't even imagine what's in store for us. But we know that we were created both male and female in the image of God. So it's assumed that in the resurrection that would happen. It would be both male and female. Um, but there's no assumption about what our relationships are going to be like. We really don't know. We have no idea, but we know they're going to be better than our earthly relationships because they're not going to be marred with the sin and dysfunction that we have from this world. And so there's no need for a marriage covenant. What will our relationships be like? I have no idea. The Bible really doesn't say what the relationship between male and female will be like in the resurrection. But we know that everything's going to be better. So that's my thought concerning this. If you have any thoughts about this, or if you've been taught something different than this, just let me know. Thanks. I appreciate it. Bye.